All right, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Recording in progress.
All right, very good. Well, welcome today, our April 25th, or the April LSU Baton Rouge Faculty Senate meeting, and the last of the year. So I'll call you to order. I'll call the meeting to order at this time. It appears our atomic clock is off, however, my cell phone came through. All right, before we get too far, is there a motion to accept the agenda as distributed to you for our meeting for today? Okay, so moved, and a second.
Second.
All right, is there any opposition? If so, please raise your hand and say nay. All right, abstentions? All right, the rest of the votes for those presented are here in presence or registered will be counted as affirmative. All right, everyone here is familiar now with our hybrid meeting format. We all know the rules. I don't need to expound upon them anymore. It has been a tremendously heavy lift to bring these meetings to fruition through a global pandemic and storms both real and virtual. Please acknowledge Dr. Knoll. Dr. Knoll, please stand, who withstood the gales to bring us together through the most challenging time. I brought her a little something to remember me by, and the rest of us for her service. For her office. I don't know if it could be toxic to cats. It would be just me. So sorry. So just check that out. Okay. Yeah. All right. So back to business. As always, everyone in here is welcome and encouraged to participate in our business. All voices matter. It's incumbent upon those here to maintain the professionalism expected of an R1 institution while acting as the voice of those they represent. Please wait to be acknowledged before speaking and refrain from interrupting those who have the floor. However, let's limit comments as closely to 2 minutes as possible. It's best to use the microphone when speaking so everyone can hear. Right. So we'll be looking for a runner. Anyone got their track shoes on? Need a little exercise, need to get your steps in. All right, well, all right. Okay, well, how about we start then? Between, well,
Go ahead.
all right. Here we are. Awesome. All right, so there we have the mic. We'll share the responsibilities as much as possible. All right, the alternates that we have listed are as follows. Joel Blair for Chantal Chauvin, Fred Sheldon for Jacob Esselstyn, Sherry Johnson for Matthew Freeman, Faradun Agazadev for Marwa Hassan, Fabio Del Piero for Thambi J.S. Seelan, Tim Chandler, for Joseph Lagoria, Michelle Massey for Helen Regis, and James Murphy, for Alan Sykes. Are there any additional alternates? Yes.
I'm Charles Delzell, alternate for Scott Baldridge.
Okay, Charles Delzell for Scott Baldridge. Any additional? All right, very good. Please register your attendance, senator or guest, at the email on the screen, and do indicate whether you're a senator or a guest. We will know that from the roster, including those who are joining us virtually. All right, are there any public comments registered?
No.
There are no public comments registered. Moving on. All right, the minutes have been previously distributed for your review. Is there a motion to accept the the minutes with the understanding that minor corrections and changes, those limited to such things as spelling, grammar, or other non-substantive revisions, are acceptable following approval of the minutes. So is there a motion to accept the minutes? We need a motion to accept the minutes. All right, we got the first and a second. Motion and a second. All right, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, barring minor changes, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Against, please raise your hand and say nay. Any abstentions? All right, we have 2 abstentions. Can you please identify yourself for the record?
Jeffrey Rowland, HSS,
All right?
James Martin.
All right, very good. All right, I see the provost is here. I don't know, we did offer you the opportunity to address the faculty here at our last meeting, but the option is yours before my president's report. No? All right. Moving on. All right, as always, I thank you for your presence here. This is crunch time for all of us, and your dedication to faculty governance is acknowledged and sincerely appreciated. As I've stated frequently, without fail, and certainly beyond reason, all voices matter. No one should ever be made to feel intimidated, unappreciated, or unworthy at our LSU. I encourage everyone to use the voice delegated by those who elected you, at the same time as I have also repeated beyond any reason, sane reason, use your voice and authority wisely as the leaders you are. Exemplify, if not who we are at our LSU, who we aspire to be. We are here to make things better for LSU faculty. As such, we cannot always agree. In fact, I strongly advise against all forms of mute consensus. Speak up and be heard. But remember that we must pull together to go forward. I'm not going to repeat the sled dog story, but remember that those teams that set upon each other rather than pulling together, rather make it over the finish or even the start line. We're all LSU, and you're going to hear a theme here, repeated several times. All right, from the top, the legislature. Senate Resolution 6, Task Force on Tenure and Post-Secondary Education by Senator Kathy, was the first item on the agenda of the April 14 meeting of the Education Committee. I was a little surprised upon my arrival to see that I may have been the only faculty member to attend with a prepared statement. This is tough because there's notoriously little advance notice about the meeting agendas, and I do hope that others are able to attend on behalf of our faculty, should it come back to the agenda. I was planning to attend last Thursday, since the resolution was deferred at the previous meeting, however, it was not on the April 21st agenda. So as I mentioned before, I believe it's best to exemplify and articulate what tenure means beyond the misconception that it represents permanent job protection or a shield from which to hide from consequences of cringe-worthy or antisocial behavior. Tenure is an achievement normally recognized after years of hard work and productivity that contributes meaningfully to society from a local to a global level. It is an honor bestowed upon those whose peers endorse their accomplishments. Further, the expectations increase with tenure in terms of scholarly productivity, service, and our foremost mission of educating the members of this state. I implore you to share and embody this message as the leaders you are. Next, the date of the April meeting of the Board of Supervisors was abruptly and unexpectedly moved from April 22nd, last Friday, to April 8th, and the location from Baton Rouge to Shreveport. About 3 days' notice was given, far too little time for faculty to reasonably change schedules around for 8 hours of driving and a 4-hour plus meeting, including myself. So in another surprise move, Chairperson Starnes announced that he was forming an ad hoc committee to assess and update the Board of Supervisors bylaws and regulations, and that their work would be conducted, I believe, at the June meeting of the Board of Supervisors. And as I understand it, communications with faculty will be via staff liaisons. Well, my intuition proved to be correct on that one. That is, the window of opportunity to provide faculty feedback would slam shut in short order. Time is of the essence, time waits for no one, et cetera, et cetera. Nonetheless, I'm happy to convey any feedback from faculty about the Board of Supervisors bylaws and regulations via the Council of Faculty Advisors to the Board of Supervisors. I was able to prepare the council report with input from all members. It was delivered by Dr. Christina Natariani, the faculty advisor from Freeport. I remind you that the report was broadcast live and is publicly available on the recording of the meeting and the minutes. I frequently summarize it for administrators and faculty as a courtesy and with which to develop actions to implement the will of the faculty contained in the report. So to summarize the report, the resolutions passed by the LSU Faculty Senate and the Association of Louisiana Faculty Senate affirming the commitment of faculty to the LSU system and statewide protection of tenure were mentioned and links provided to the resolution. The Board of Supervisors and LSU administration have not wavered in their support of tenure. The faculty again put forth the need for administrative action to call and hold campus faculty council meetings as described in the Board of Supervisors regulations. I'm happy to report progress on that front. The LSU Baton Rouge Faculty Council meeting is currently scheduled for May 18 at 2 p.m. Do we have a location?
The ballroom.
In the ballroom, downstairs. President Tate or delegate will preside. We appreciate the support of the Board of Supervisors and LSU administration in bringing this to fruition. Since it's a meeting called for by the administration, they'll be handling the communications, which should be released soon. I think it was anticipated it would be released today. Anyway, Dr. Noel and I helped them with the draft message. All right, the importance of faculty input to the Board of Super bylaws and regulations. I've already covered that, and we'll remain vigilant on this topic. Communication challenges between campuses was again reiterated. In fact, those who have dual appointments between the Ag Center and LSU A&M do not have access to their LSU email, even if their appointment is majority LSU A&M. Interference with faculty communications is unacceptable and counterintuitive to our mission at LSU. Though LSU has long expounded upon, and more recently even more so, about the importance of environmental protection, alternative fuel sources, etc., there's relatively little evidence of serious investment on our campuses. The faculty pointed out that we need to better exemplify our commitment to a clean and healthy earth. Finally, the resolution passed by the Baton Rouge Faculty Senate, a resolution for fair and equitable cost of living adjustments at the March 23 meeting, calling for a 5.9% cost of living adjustment for faculty, was brought to the Board of Supervisors. All right, that's it for the Board of Supervisors. At the administrative level, you've no doubt heard about the Pentagon for Protection, and the rumblings about the strategic plan are gradually moving toward an intelligible message. VP of Strategy, Mark Beaker, was unable to meet with us today, but he does meet with some great regularity with the multiple members of the 6-tiered strategic planning team. Very complex. Some important updates. The plan will be for the whole system, that is a strategic plan, and it is targeted for implementation, if not before, then at the beginning of fall 2022. I already mentioned the multiple levels of the team composed of faculty, staff, and student. They also wanted me to emphasize that DEI is embedded in all working groups, and that graduate education will be a focus of the planning. This is very refreshing for me to hear. I must say that graduate education is sorely and routinely overlooked here. And finally, the values and mission statement are not yet finalized, but I understand that they have been distributed to deans and vice presidents for small group conversations and feedback. So if you have not heard about the values and the mission statement, please reach out to your dean. All right, we may have noticed some pretty high-level administrative searches underway. That is the VP of Online and Continuing Education and Executive Vice President and Provost. As you know, a commercial search committee has been engaged, firm has been engaged to conduct a provost search with a committee composed of students, faculty, and staff. I really strongly encourage you and encourage you to encourage your faculty to view the professional documents that are provided and attend the public candidate forum. For those faculty members that have the opportunity to meet with the candidates, which you can do in the forums, at least you can ask questions, please do so on behalf of our LSU faculty. As I understand it, the positions are anticipated to be filled by July 1st. The executive committee meets weekly, agendas and minutes are posted, everyone is welcome to attend. In addition, the executive committee has regular meetings with administrators to advise them of faculty senate updates, communicate faculty concerns, and provide insight and guidance on implementation of the faculty will. Typically, implementation of the will conveyed via resolutions. Naturally, there is substantial overlap between agenda items of the faculty senate, the executive committee, the council of faculty advisors, and meetings with administrators. In short, we're all working from the same playbook because we're all on the same team. Additionally, I'm aware, thanks to innumerable messages shared with me, that there are frequent communications about the faculty leadership that are shared with only a small group of faculty. I know. I'm not a recipient of the messages, but I've seen quite a few beginning about spring this time last year. I cannot and will not attest to their accuracy, veracity, or professionalism, nor will I give them the attention. So, it does seem odd that among the numerous demands for transparency, that super secret missives are out. I haven't had time to read my own emails. I don't have time to read them. I try to keep up with them, let alone those of others. However, if you do happen to have time, sufficient time to read multiple email accounts, I'll hire you because I would appreciate the help in sorting mine. All right. Topics of recent FSCC meetings have included continued challenges with LA open meeting law, restrictions to faculty senate, faculty council meetings. This is work in progress, as clearly conveyed at our last faculty senate meeting by the representative from the Attorney General's office and General Counsel Wilson McCray. We're doing our level best to follow all criteria and are in frequent communication with the General Counsel's office and the Attorney General's office. All right, we've also run upon some challenges securing volunteers for faculty senate standing committees. We need volunteers for the Adjudication Committee, the Budget and Planning Committee, let's see, what else? So many committees. They're all on the website. Faculty don't need to be senators to serve on the standing committees. Members of the executive committee should not be the only source of nominations. Please share names of individuals that you recommend for service. At present, we're also seeking nominations for the Integrated Learning Committee. All right, we'll continue to post those on the Faculty Senate website. Please come forward, put your friends forward, non-friends forward, whoever, but so people who you know that will do well, certainly faculty well. All right, another topic and a rather bizarre twist. It appears that the registrar is only posting a limited number of 8,000 and 9,000 course sections and will only add additional with administrator approval and some guarantee that students will register. This sounds like a bit like a chicken and egg scenario. I did reach out to the registrar. He did provide some clarification, and he'll be meeting with the Faculty Senate Executive Committee as well. It seems the problem is that there were a whole bunch of course sections that were listed that were actually not available, and they're trying to avoid that disruption. All right, more good news. Good news. CIO Craig Woolley and VP Torres have indicated that classroom technology upgrades and regularly scheduled updates are on the horizon. CIO Woolley will meet with the FSCC at our May 4th meeting, and information will be shared with the Senate. More good news, it appears that faculty raises will be a reality this year, though I've not seen anything in writing. But, speaking of faculty raises, the fact that in the recent past, the nominal amount of faculty pay increase has been distributed evenly, at least that's what's said on the surface, I won't go into that, with no consideration of merit. This issue, originally a talking point of former FSCC meeting Fabio Del Piero, has been delivered to the administration nonstop. Of course, the practice also maintains and exacerbates pay disparities, a long recognized fault in our LSU system. And speaking of pay disparities, the Executive Committee regularly requests updates on the progress of the commercial entity employed to report on faculty pay disparities. To be honest, this is one of my platform items as vice president over 5 years ago. My suggestion that we pay reparations to those who have suffered decades of lower pay than peers on our campus was not well received. Nonetheless, at this rate, the pay disparity issue at our LSU is unlikely to ever be resolved. The faculty call for a more expedient and transparent process regarding administrative actions to correct decades of pay disparities. I'm not going to touch on the abysmal state of the faculty activity reporting software. I saw this fiasco coming from miles away. Let's hope that the administration is able to salvage something useful from the ruins. In the meantime, we're all back to reporting our activities on the tried and true paper. All right. Again, I repeat myself on the topic of the Faculty Senate Constitution that has not been ratified since 2005. Copies of the old Constitution and the one approved by the vote of the Faculty Senate in October 2020 have been shared with you. A vote on the Constitution will be on the agenda for the upcoming Faculty Council meeting, which will be the first in-person meeting held for the intended purposes of updating faculty on the actions of the Faculty Senate and providing an opportunity for discussion of any actions taken by the Faculty Senate, typically in the form of resolutions, over the preceding year. This will be the first such meeting since 2005, and we're relying on you to emphasize the importance of this meeting. Friends, we have to maintain our Constitution as a living document that it is. Again, the current version has been passed by the Faculty Senate. However, it is on the agenda for discussion today. Any amendments made by this body today will be conveyed at the council meeting. Again, we have to move forward. Let's set high expectations and standards for our faculty governance to serve as an example for campuses throughout the state. What a rousing success LSU Discovery Day was. My goodness, it has grown from a tiny initiative to a full-size scientific meeting. I saw a lot of you there, and I was nonstop, hands down, absolutely impressed by our students. Well done, Sarah Firstall and team. More so, well done, students. Our LSU has phenomenal students. All right, that is more than enough. I close this, my final president's report, with my most sincere and heartfelt thanks for allowing me to serve in this capacity. It's been a true honor to be present and act as the faculty voice for the last 3 years. I've learned an inordinate amount, and education that I'll always cherish as part of my earthly duties or journey. Many of you know I am a first-generation college student who bears a nickname rather than my birthright moniker of Manuel Valentin Lopez before. Formative years were spent on my father's tiny fishing boat until we upgraded to a slightly larger boat, the Mandy J. That last I knew, she was in Seattle, Washington. She still floats. She's a tough old boat. She still floats and bears the wooden interior handcrafted by my artisan father. I learned on these tiny boats, they are tiny boats compared to the Pacific Ocean, and my family relied on them for a living. I learned that when things get rough, sometimes the only option is to throw the anchor down, going full throttle, grab the rudder, and hold on for dear life until facing the storm until it passes. The leaders that I admire aren't brash, loud, self-congratulatory, or cruel. They show up to do the job that they are called to do, and they do it well. They are elected with the understanding that they will be the voice and stand by the will of all faculty voices that elected them under all circumstances, no matter what the consequences. They always represent a balanced voice. Let's hope for just a little bit of smooth sailing. Thank you for your presence. As I often say to my mentees navigating the trials and tribulations of life, be wise, be strong, and be kind. Or at least tolerate those that test your inner peace every single day. Above all, remain fierce for the faculty. You've got this. I believe in the LSU faculty. Thank you. All right. Yes.
Meredith Bellman, history. I just have one question. You said the faculty council meeting, that the administration will handle the communications.
Yeah.
Is that how do we, faculty have asked, how do they get things on the agenda?
Yes, they'll, not by telepathy, though. I believe that they will be asking for agenda items on the communication that will be coming out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. As per standard, I made a tiny mistake in tabling resolution 21 -12. Well, not really, it's quite all right. But resolution 21-12, recommendations for reform of faculty senate practices, was tabled at our last meeting. In order to bring it back into discussion requires a motion and a second. And a majority vote. It's non-debatable. So I leave this to this body to decide whether or not they want to bring from the table or return to discussion resolution 21-12. Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? And a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. All those against, please raise your hand and say nay. All those who abstain. Okay.
Well, how do you say the name?
Yes, okay. Those who are against, please state your names for the record.
John Miles, library. Bob Newman, business.
Eddie Gibbons, leadership.
Are there any other names?
Muhammad.
Those are Muhammad. Any others? All right. Any abstentions? All right. We'll start at the front and go back.
Adriano Butler.
All right.
Lori Gonzalez. Lisa Holtz. Lisa.
Did we get everyone? Okay. Any over here? All right, all the remaining votes will be considered affirmative for those who are registered for the meeting today. All right, resolution 21-12.
So no preamble, since we've already had 2 readings of this. Recommendations for improvements in faculty senate practices. Whereas attempts underway across the United States to abolish or weaken tenure, limit faculty's right to freedom of speech, and eradicate the principles and practices of shared university governance highlight the importance of the LSU Faculty Senate serving as a strong and effective advocate for faculty interests and concerns. And whereas the LSU Faculty Senate rejects any efforts to curtail academic freedom or protected faculty speech in any way, and supports the right of faculty to participate in shared governance and advocate for their interests via all legal channels. And whereas implementation of the following recommendations would improve the ability of the Senate to serve in its aforementioned role. Therefore, be it resolved that the LSU Faculty Senate is to immediately implement or observe the following best practices, many of which are already part of its guidelines, so that it may better serve the interests of the faculty it represents. 1, the FSEC is to operate according to established Senate rules and general parliamentary procedure, and is to set and approve the agenda for faculty Senate meetings via deliberation and vote by all eligible FSEC members, in accordance with the requirements laid out in the Constitution and bylaws during their normal meetings. 2, time limits are to be strictly enforced as follows: a 3-minute limit for public comments, 10 minutes for presentation by outside speakers, followed by a 5-minute question and answer period. 10 minutes for committee reports, and the President's report is to be circulated in written format to the Senate in advance of the meeting with a 10-minute in-meeting presentation of the most pressing issues, followed by a 5-minute question and answer period. The FSEC may at its discretion allocate a longer time period for a presentation when it approves the agenda, but the extended time must be notated on the agenda with the agenda item and shall not exceed 30 minutes. 3, all FSEC members are to be notified of any potential changes to any LSU regulation, policy statement, permanent memorandum, or other standing practice or policy originating from inside or outside of the Senate within 2 business days of the information becoming available to any member of that committee. And senators are also to be informed in a timely manner, but absolutely no later than the following meeting of the Senate. 4, the Senate is to be advised of all actions taken on its behalf by the FSEC in a timely manner, but absolutely no later than the following meeting of the Senate, in accordance with the requirements laid out in the Faculty Senate Constitution and bylaws. Resolved, that the LSU Faculty Senate also directs the FSEC to investigate the possibility of retaining outside counsel for consultation as necessary on legal questions that may arise as part of the Senate business, the findings of this investigation to be presented to the Senate at or before the meeting held in October of 2022. Resolved, that the Senate recommends that in the fall of 2022, the LSU Faculty Senate create an ad hoc committee composed of 5 senators to review the Senate Constitution and bylaws, as well as the Senate's policies and practices, and to present a series of recommendations for revisions and improvements at or before the Senate meeting held in November of 2022.
Right, the resolution's already entered into discussion, so
Kevin Raymond, College of Ag. I'd like to call a question, please. We've seen this several times.
Second.
okay, there is a motion for the question and a second. All those in favor of calling the question, that is moving on to a vote, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
All right, please identify yourself for the record.
Charles Delsell.
Any abstentions? All right, please identify yourself for the record.
Bob Newman. This is Jason.
And Professor Waka. All right, any other abstentions? All right, all other votes for those registered here at the meeting will be considered affirmative. The motion is to move forward, or the motion to call the question and move forward with voting passes. All right, all those in favor of resolution, it doesn't have a name, 21-12, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. Okay, please identify yourself for the record.
Bob Newman. Eddie Giddens. Matt Meyer.
Are there any others? Any abstentions? Okay. Please identify yourself.
Adriano Bata.
Thomas Nelson. Lord Langford.
Any others?
John Miles.
Okay. All right. The resolution passes. Next up, resolution, we have the second reading of, next up, we have the second reading of resolution 22-05, increasing library funds to meet research university standards. Is there someone to do the second reading of this then?
Good afternoon. This is the second reading of the Faculty Senate Resolution 2205, increasing library funds to meet research university standards, as sponsored by the LSU Faculty Senate Library Advisory Committee. Whereas President Tate shares on his official website the vision, imagine a university where scholarship is the primary objective. Scholarship ranks. The immediate focus is on positioning LSU to be a place where scholarship grows and flourishes in a fashion consistent with the pressing needs of society. And whereas faculty members across the university welcome and endorse this vision, and whereas every scholar, no matter the discipline or area of specialization, relies on access to both recent and historically relevant publications or published data sets in conducting research projects. And whereas every editor or peer reviewer in any field of research expects that submitted articles or books take into account recent publications and the current state of scholarship on the subject at hand. And whereas President Tate announced recently that Our Lady of the Lake and the LCMC Health have committed $245 million to LSU over the next 10 years, the largest philanthropic investment ever made to our university, and that this support will advance our pursuit of the National Cancer Institute designation, catalyze STEM education and research in Louisiana, strengthen the talent pipeline for the future of healthcare, alleviate financial barriers to quality healthcare for our students, and provide elite wellness programs to our student athletes. And whereas faculty members applaud this initiative and the wish to support the president and the university in achieving the goal of advancing LSU's national and international standing. And whereas a cancer researcher must first have access to up-to-date publications and become familiar with the most recent developments in the field before he or she or they can even begin to look for novel cancer treatments. And whereas the vast majority of scholarship is published in subscription-based journals or book publications, either in print or in electronic formats, and whereas all researchers, be this undergraduate students, graduate students, or faculty members, routinely use databases to find and select publication titles within specific fields of research. And whereas the primary function of the LSU libraries is to provide LSU students, staff members, and the faculty with access to research and teaching resources by either purchasing or subscribing to scholarly print journals, e-journals, books, e-books, and databases, along with non-scholarly publications in the arts and sciences. And whereas a well-funded library is essential to fulfilling the research mission of a research-intensive institution, and whereas a well-funded library is equally critical to the educational mission of a large public university system, as it seeks to offer up-to-date instructions and resources to undergraduate students, but even more so for the cultivation of research skills and fostering of intellectual growth of its graduate students. And whereas in 1 year, the Dean of Libraries reports the total turn-away number for electronic resources at LSU exceeds 100,000, which means that over 100,000 times in 1 year, or 274 times on every single day of that year, a faculty member, staff member, or student trying to access an article in an e-journal through the library portal, only to find that it is not available at LSU. And whereas LSU libraries ordered in 2019 22,525 books or articles from other universities through its interlibrary loan service, And whereas the demand of the interlibrary loan service increased by 29% compared to 2018. And whereas interlibrary loans are of great use for electronically submitted articles or chapters or those hard copy titles that a researcher requires briefly, they cannot always adequately address the needs for making publications accessible as course material or for long-term research uses in the context of large projects, since repeated ILL borrowing of the same materials in both expensive to the library and time-consuming to the researcher. And whereas the Faculty Senate Library Advisory Committee reported to the President's Office, the Office of Academic Affairs, and the Office of Research and Economic Development evidence that some faculty members in humanities and social sciences who make up 19% of the faculty but account for 35% of the interlibrary loan requests routinely rely on workaround strategies, which include payments with personal funds for research materials, travel, often long distance, to other university libraries, and avoidance of projects or mentorship of projects which they do not deem feasible due to limited availability of resources at LSU. And whereas LSU's expenditure for the libraries has been for over a decade less than 50% of the mean expenditure reported by the Association of Research Libraries, ARL in short. And whereas LSU ranks 13th among the 14 SEC universities in its funding for libraries, and is also followed by Mississippi State University. And whereas LSU's total library expenditure of $14,669,172 in 2019 amounts to 30% of the library expenditure at Texas A&M University, which is $48,107,898, to 42% of that at the University of Florida, which is $35,161,790. To 49% of that at the University of Tennessee, $30,074,049, and to 64% of that of the University of Kentucky, $22,846,210. And whereas the overall inflation rate in the United States, as tracked with the Consumer Price Index, rose to 7.5% in February 2022. Therefore, be resolved that LSU commits to an annual increase of at least 6% to the allocated budget for the LSU libraries until such a time that the total expenditure is on par with the mean expenditure reported by the Association of Research Libraries. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the library committee for bringing this resolution forward. This is the second reading. It's already entered into discussion. So is there any comments, discussion? Anybody online? No. Okay. Are they able to hear us online? All right. And we can hear them? All right. All right, well, is there a motion to, well, I guess it's already under discussion. Okay, all those in favor of this resolution, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those against, please raise your hand and say nay. Any abstentions? Very good, the resolution passes. All right, next up, university participation is resolution 22-07. University participation in Consortium of Universities Studying Slavery, sponsored by the Faculty Senate Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, the Carceral Health Studies Group, the Department of History, Women's Gender, and Sexuality Studies Program. All right, is there someone here to read that?
Actually, on behalf of the Faculty Senate Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, we would like to ask to table this resolution until the fall. We would like to get more sponsors, and we would also like to get in direct contact with Ashley Schmidt in order to make sure that the resolution is as detailed and specific as we could possibly make it.
Postpone. I think you want, yeah, okay, that's quite all right. All right, so, sorry, I'm being kind of crazy. Okay, so there is a motion to postpone discussion of this resolution until the fall meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Abstentions? All right, 2 abstentions, please, identify yourself for the record.
Peter James Reese, college engineer. And President, is there a moment for a question for the next general conference?
Oh,
Well,
well,
maybe the answer, but I do have a question. I tried to ask the last meeting, but remotely there was issues.
uh-huh,
And I couldn't, it was like I was a ghost, no one could see or hear me, and I was pushing the button to ask the question after the first meeting. We answered the question for, the senator after counting them.
okay, yeah, why don't we do that? All right, okay, so, Professor Daniels race, was against?
No, abstention.
Abstain, I'm sorry, all right. Are there any, all right, additional abstentions? All right, you have a question mark?
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, I must preface by asking things, yes. I asked you this actually as well. I just want to make sure if there are any senators that are accessing remotely that they can hear us. I don't know who's monitoring that, but can they hear us if not see us? Is there any way to check that?
I've asked them to unmute.
Sorry, can't hear.
She asked them to unmute so they can, are there any problems detected?
Not on my end, as far as I can find it out.
Just want to make sure they can hear us.
Okay, all right,
Okay, the reason I said that is because after the first reading, I did have this very question. They've already been answered actually. And unfortunately, there were technical difficulties where I was effectively ghost. No one could see me, no one could hear me. Not pointing fingers, it was just a technical matter. I know not to use the chat, but out of desperation, I did put a chat message in and found out that there were intermittent disruptions and such that senators like were accessing remote accommodations, in my case, medical as well, could not be seen or heard. So, happy to be here today. Quick question for you, please. I noticed, and I'm very glad to see, of course, a very important study in consortium in American history being put forward. I was curious to know, and maybe this is what you were alluding to earlier, why the, I would say the very department, formerly programmed but now celebrated department of AAAS, African American Studies, of which I'm not a member, by the way, so it's a new department, why they are conspicuously absent, or were they asked to be part of this resolution, I should say?
Yes, the plan is to ask them to be a part of this resolution. We've also had a lot of folks who have expressed interest who we did not originally reach out to. So this is in order to make sure that everybody who would like to be a sponsor of this resolution has the opportunity, not just individuals, but also like anthropology and geography has expressed interest, like entire departments have expressed interest. And so in order to demonstrate the sort of critical mass that we really hope to back this resolution, we would just like a little bit more time when people have a little bit more bandwidth to respond to my emails.
Very, very good. That will allow you the time to join the consortium. In other words, if the fall won't be too late.
No, ma'am. Yeah, this is an ongoing consortium, so there's no sort of clock on this at all.
Very good. Thank you so much. I was concerned because I thought if any group had expertise in the area of study, it would be that department. And I did not see them, although I'm glad to see the other sponsors. So yes, I hope someone will reach out to them and their response will be respected. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
thank you. All right, just for the record, resolution 22-07, university participation in consortium of the university study of slavery will be postponed until the August faculty senate meeting agenda. All right, new business are the elections. Turn over the podium to Professor Miles, who I believe served as the chair of the nominating committee. We will do voting in alphabetical order, and we will confirm each vote as it is given to make sure that we are correct, the record is recorded correctly for the vote. All right. Many thanks. I do want to say thanks to our nominating committee. It's a tremendous amount of work and composed of our departing senators, so thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll work through this president, vice president, secretary, and then the two at-large positions. I'll read the names in alphabetical order. The candidates will be given 2 minutes if they would like to make a public comment. We will vote, and then we'll move on to the next. Yes.
I have a quick question. Senator Dooley is up for 2 positions, I believe.
Yes.
How do we deal with that? Like, what's the?
If, as I understand it, if someone is elected for one of the leadership positions, then they will not stand for the at-large position.
Understood. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, so standing for president, Professor Basayev and Professor King. Would either of you like to make a statement?
Hello, I'm Inessa Bazayev. I'm College Mentor Professor of Music Theory and the head of the Music Theory area here at the College of Music and Dramatic Arts. I specialize in Russian and Soviet music and music theory, and I have published widely on these and related topics in top journals in my field and books and book chapters. I recently concluded 3 years of elected service to the board of directors of my national society, the Society for Music Theory, for which I now serve as associate editor for one of our flagship journals. I have served the university and my profession in many capacities, which include directing 2 major international conferences here at LSU. I currently serve on the boards of Ogden Honors College, School of Collaborative Academic Programs, and Center for Collaborative Knowledge. One of my most important contributions to collaborative knowledge and action, however, has been my work related to Faculty Senate, which includes Resolution 2206 on reaffirmation of academic freedom and tenure, for which I was primary author and co-sponsor. I then traveled to Alexandria with Dan Terrell to present this resolution to the Association of Louisiana Faculty Senates, or ALFs, which not only endorsed it, but adopted it as a resolution and distributed it across our state to all public institutions. And as we hear today, these similar resolutions were already passed across the state and are being considered as we speak. If I'm elected president, there are 3 things that I will tackle right away. I will continue to work with Louisiana faculty inside and outside our campus to address issues concerning faculty in the LSU system, as well as statewide system, especially on protections of academic freedom and tenure, as we know they cannot be taken for granted. Number 2, I will follow through all resolutions that we pass here in the Senate present for implementation beyond just meeting with administration. And number 3, I will continue to build our Senate into a formidable body that advocates for faculty and enhances shared governance. Collaboration and leadership are at the center of everything that I do, and I think they're important assets for this body, and it will be a privilege to lead the Faculty Senate in this capacity. Thank you for your consideration.
I'm Joan King. I'm a professor in the School of Nutrition and Food Sciences. I'm a food chemist. I've been here, it'll be 25 years in December. You've read what I wrote in my statement, so I don't want to repeat everything that's in there, but I wanted to give you a few examples of some of the other things that I've done to help faculty. The resolution that was just postponed till the fall, this issue came to my awareness from an article in the Red League about slave cemeteries on campus under the health center. And so I brought the issue up to the Faculty Senate Executive Committee, who then brought it up to the Faculty Senate DEI Committee. And then the ball got rolling on this issue related to the resolution. For me, I would like to see actually a plaque there to recognize that there's been a slave cemetery on the campus. Kind of like we have the Indian mounds and they're protected. Another thing that I noticed, I was looking at the coach survey that we had done. And one of the things that I worked on along with the rest of the Faculty Senate Executive Committee was having input onto changes that were made to the academic freedom policy on campus so that we would meet the SACS review policies. So I had input on any changes that were made in there to protect faculty academic freedom. And in the coach survey, one of the things they asked was, what's the 2 best aspects of your institution? And the top 3 areas were academic freedom, and then the quality of colleagues and support of colleagues. Another thing that I did was push for raises for faculty. Every single time we met with provosts and administrators as part of the Faculty Senate Executive Committee. And now it seems that we're getting on a regular roll of raises. I also was a member of the Budget and Planning Committee, where I helped to write a resolution on trying to get tuition waivers for the family members of faculty. Just last week came to my mind that we should look at what are the current raises that you get when you get promoted. 2 different areas. So I was looking at that and asked Donna Torres for information on that area, so it's something the Budget and Planning Committee can look at. But I'm consistently looking for ways that I can help faculty on a general basis, help everyone from every level in every college, not just on the major issues like tenure, but on the little issues every day that we deal with, like making sure our facilities are adequate to do our research and teaching. So I appreciate your consideration for voting for me, and I want to continue helping faculty in any way I can, no matter what happens.
Thank you. I will now read the names, and if you could call out your vote, I will then repeat your vote into the microphone, just so everybody is on the level. All right. Scott Balbridge.
He's not here. I'm Charles Dosell, and I'm just, I'll vote for Joe
King. Barrera.
Joe
King. Basayev.
Besides.
Basayev. Apologies.
That was my fault, yeah.
That'll count as a correction and a vote. Oh, no. Beloglavak.
Bazayev.
Bazayev. Blanchard.
Pamela Blanchard?
Pam Blanchard.
Yes. Bazayev.
Bazayev. Brolt.
Bazayev.
Bazayev. Brazini.
Besides.
Bazayev. Canfield.
Bazayev.
Bazayev. Carter. Elizabeth Carter.
Not here.
Elizabeth Carter's alternate.
Here's one.
Chantel Chauvin.
Joe Claire is alternate for Chantel Chauvin, Bazayev.
Bazayev. Chin. Sinlin Chin. King. Jinwoo Choi. Bazayev. Church. John Church, Law Center. Robert Cook. Robert Cook, College of Science. Data Daniels Reyes.
Bazayev.
Bazayev. Davis. Jeff Davis, College of Ag. Dorier, William Dorier. King. Dooley.
King.
King. Duran. Bazaya. Do that. Doubt
Thomas Doubted, Bazaya.
Doubt sorry. Did you say? Bazaya. Esselstyn. King. Flavella.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Freeman.
Sherry Johnson is an alternate, Bazaya.
Bazaya. Holtz.
King.
King. Gibbons.
King.
King. Abear.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Harmon. Jason Harmon. Hassan.
Alternate Bazaya.
Bazaya. Heidelberg.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Hyatt.
Bazaya.
Fulton. Sorry, Bazaya. Fulton.
King.
King. J.S. Sealand.
Substituting Bazaya.
Bazaya. King.
King.
King. Kirk Ballard.
King.
King. Knapp. Gary Knapp, engineering. Lee. Carlos Lee. Carlos Lee, HSE. Lagoria. Joseph Lagoria, business.
Tim Chandler is his alternate.
Tim Chandler, alternate. Madden.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Mann.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Martinez.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Miles. Abstain. Abstain. Mohammed.
King.
King. Nabulescu.
He's not online.
Another one. Nabulescu, agriculture. Newman. King. King. Ostrenko. Bazaya. Penn. Arthur Penn, vet med.
Nope.
Peters Hill.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Regis. Alternate for Helen Regis. I believe that's what she almost said.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Roland.
Ringelman. I'm sorry. Sorry, yes.
Regis.
Bazaya.
Oh, sorry, Ringelman.
Bazaya.
Roland. Bazaya. Roland. Bazaya. Rosser. Bazaya. Ryan. Kirk Ryan, vet med. Alan Sykes. Alternate Jim Murphy. Bazaya. Bazaya. Param Singh.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Song. Bazaya. Stadler.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Stewart.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Tyrone.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Vada.
King.
King. Feldman.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Wagner. Bazaya. Wahab.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Waltrich. Paulo Waltrich, engineering. Wei Su Wang.
Bazaya.
Bazaya. Rollins.
King.
King. Wu. Jinian Wu.
He's online, but he's not, I don't know if he's really.
Alright, that's it. We're gonna take a minute now and tally the votes. And I'm hopefully gonna get a list, if I could, with those who are absent, marked absent. I wasn't able to do that as we were going. So I don't have to read them again.
Oh, I didn't mark. I didn't put anything.
Anyone has any Amway to sell? Might be better yours. I was promised that there would be interpretive dancers. I'm Presbyterian. I would sing, but my 3-year-old actually told me to stop singing before she hit the age of 2.
Ouch.
Daddy, you know. Just in the name of me being less uncomfortable, if the vice presidential candidates could go ahead and begin or get ready. The candidates for vice president will be Eddie Gibbons, HSE, Roy Heidelberg, Public Administration, and Daniel Tyrone, Political Science. Are all 3 of you going to make a statement? Yes. No. 2 yeses and a no. I would ask you to, when I start making uncomfortable coughs, to end your speech at 2 minutes, please. Okay, quickly before I dance. All right, so I believe Professor Gibbons will be first.
Good afternoon. Everybody hear me? My name is Eddie Gibbons. I'm an assistant professor of professional practice and undergraduate programs coordinator for the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development. I'm a first-generation college graduate and veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I teach both undergraduate and graduate courses in human resource development, leadership, process analysis, and organizational development consulting. I also teach a study abroad class twice a year in Thailand. I possess over 15 years experience in operations management, performance and process improvement, and workforce development. Prior to my faculty appointment at LSU, I worked as a management consultant for Success Labs and served as an interim chief operations officer for a local Baton Rouge electrical equipment wholesaler. Inside of 3 months, we returned this organization to profitability. They had been earning negative profits for 5 years. We also avoided bankruptcy and managed a merger. I currently serve as the board president for a 501c3 called the Eyes of Freedom. This organization's mission is to bring awareness to veteran suicide and PTSD. I've also served on various committees for the Faculty Senate and the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development. As the program coordinator for LHRD, I've received numerous undergraduate teaching awards from the LSU Athletic Foundation and from the College of Human Sciences and Education. I've developed a large network of industry contacts, resulting in more than 80% of our graduates landing jobs in our field of HR. While not the typical candidate or faculty member, my experience as a practitioner has taught me how to think through difficult technical problems, all while considering the human element to any organization. I believe this level-headed approach is helpful in navigating the complex issues we find ourselves in today. Despite being a relatively quiet member of the Senate since 2019, I'm running now because I believe my experience can contribute to the Senate and the FSCC.
Exactly 2 minutes, military precision. Professor Tyrone.
All right, thank you, Daniel Tyrone, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science. And I certainly don't have to convince you of the many serious threats we face, including to that most important bulwark of academic freedom, tenure, and that it makes it imperative that we elect individuals who are ready to assume office and lead from day one. I have spent the years since earning tenure working to advance the interests of faculty both inside and outside of the Senate. These commitments have prepared me to meet our current challenges. They familiarize me with the parties, the policies, and the politics that differentiate a public institution of higher education from private enterprise, so that I can develop strategies catered to this environment. The successes I have achieved for faculty provide a template for future actions, and the candid conversations I've had with many of you, and sometimes they have been challenging conversations, have made me a better leader by making me as well a better listener. If provided with the opportunity, I will make sure that the Senate's conduct is unimpeachable, so our opponents must deal with the merits of our arguments and cannot dismiss them on procedural grounds. I will work with the FSCC to improve our operations and to clearly identify priorities we can work with the administration to achieve through strengthened shared governance and in support of academic freedom. Most importantly, I will continue to serve our faculty with courage and tenacity and will not be cowed by the difficult moments that will most certainly arise in the coming months and years. Everything I have done has been motivated by a desire to improve the well-being of our most valuable asset, our faculty. And I ask for your vote so that I may continue this critical work. Thank you.
All right, do we have results to announce before we? All right, for the presidential election, Professor Basayev, 37, Professor King, 15. Congratulations. All right, we are now voting for vice presidents. Does anybody have a list of our absent? Can you make them? I'll just read everybody again. Baldridge.
Dozell, you're voting for Tyrone.
Tyrone. Barrera. Gibbons. Bazayev. Tyrone. Belagash. Belak.
You did so good.
I know.
Tyrone.
Tyrone. Yeah, and my sincere apologies. Blanchard. Pam Blanchard. Tyrone. Brolt.
Tyrone.
Tyrone. Rossini. Gibbons. Canfield. Tyrone. Carter.
Absent.
Chauvin.
Tyrone.
Tyrone. Chin. Gibbons. Choi. Tyrone. Church.
Also absent.
Cook. Daniels Race. Tyrone. Davis. Dorlaire. Gibbons. Dooley. Gibbons. Duran. Tyrone. Thomas. I'm going to do it again. Joseph. Tyrone. Apologies. Essex Flynn. Gibbons. Favela. Gibbons. Freeman. Tyrone. Foltz. Tyrone. Gibbons. Gibbons. Hebert. Tyrone. Hassan. Tyrone. Heidelberg. Tyrone. Hyatt. Gibbons. Colton. Gibbons. J.S. Sealand. Tyrone. King. Gibbons. Kirk Ballard. Tyrone. Knack.
Absent.
Lee. Lagoria. Madden.
It's not here.
Madden. Tyrone. Martinez.
Robert Mann.
Excuse me. Mann. Tyrone. Martinez. Jerome, Miles, Gibbons, Mohammed, Tyrone, Nigulescu,
Absent.
absent, Newman, Heidelberg, Ostrinko, Tyrone, Penn,
Absent.
Peters Hill,
Tyrone.
Tyrone, Regis,
Tyrone.
Michelle Bassett.
Tyrone.
was that Tyrone?
Tyrone.
Tyrone, Ringelman,
Tyrone.
Tyrone, Roland, Tyrone, Rosser, Tyrone, Ryan,
Absent.
Sykes,
Alternate Jason Murphy, Tyrone.
Tyrone, Singh, Tyrone, Song, Heidelberg, Stadler, Tyrone, Stewart, Tyrone, Nevada,
Gibbons.
Gibbons, Feldman,
Tyrone.
Tyrone, Wagner, Tyrone, Wahab,
Tyrone.
Tyrone, Waltrich, Wayne, Tyrone, Rollins, Gibbons, Wu. All right, we will now tally the votes, or not me. Looking ahead, there are 2 candidates for secretary, Carrie Dooley, chemical engineering, and Meredith Feldman, history. Will you both be making a statement?
Yes.
Shall we go ahead? All right, Carrie Dooley.
My bio makes it clear that I've labored in the vineyard for a long time here, both on committees and my third time on the faculty senate. If I'm elected, what I'd like most to do is to first listen to a broad cross-section of the faculty and what their interests are, what they want the faculty senate executive committee to do. And I'll try to listen to as many people as possible, not just the loudest voices. Also, I'd like to just focus on a couple of things. One of them would be budget and planning, because I think that's probably the most important thing in university. It's something that the faculty senate I don't think is weighed in on enough in the past. And the second is the character. And by that, I mean the character of the university. The university has undergone tremendous transformation in the last few years. And I don't think that the faculty senate, or the faculty as a whole, has had enough voice in what those transformations were. So I'd like to rectify that if I'm elected also. So with that, I'm just asking for your vote, and I won't make another statement when I go for member at large either. Okay, thank you.
Professor Feldman.
Hi, I'm Meredith Feldman. I'm with the history department. I've been at LSU for over 30 years. And like a number of you, I too am a first generation college student. My teaching, research, and writing have focused on modern European history. And so I guess it stands to reason that much of my service activity at LSU has reflected my commitment to increasing international engagement and awareness. I've chaired the Faculty Senate Internationalization Committee. I was a co-chair of the Provost Task Force on Internationalization, and I was on the chair of the HSS Dean's Committee that led to the creation of the Global Connections Residential College, where I served as rector for the first 3 years. I was also for a number of years on the board of the International Cultural Center. When the pandemic hit and the academic programs abroad office lost the entirety of its funding, I helped organize the Study Abroad Action Group that mobilized faculty to fight on APA's behalf. I also helped lead a faculty effort in 2020-21 that resulted in the streamlining of the integrated learning core application and assessment process, something that saved us all a lot of work. Both actions convinced me of the need for more open lines of communication between the faculty senate, its committees, and the faculty at large. So too did my participation in calling the historic faculty council meeting last year that brought together over 800 faculty members, as well as the ongoing effort to ensure faculty involvement in the formation of LSU's COVID policy. If elected secretary, I will use my organizational and communication skills to help make the faculty senate a more visible and powerful presence on campus in order to strengthen shared governance at LSU, faculty engagement in key decisions, and the strongest possible educational experience for our students. Thank you.
Exactly 2 minutes again. Thank you. For Vice President, A. Gibbons, 14, Heidelberg, 2, Tyrone, 37. We're now voting for Secretary. Aldridge. We're there. Dooley. Dooley. Herrera. Dooley. Bazayev. Feldman. Feldman. Thank you. Blanchard. Feldman. Brault. Feldman. Orsini. Feldman. Canfield. Feldman. Carter.
Absent.
Chauvin. Feldman. Chin. Dooley. Choi. Feldman. Church.
Absent.
Cook.
Absent.
Daniels Rice. Feldman. Davis.
Absent.
Dorlier. Dooley. Dooley. That was, yeah. Duran. Feldman. Dothan. Feldman. Esselston. Feldman. Favela. Feldman. Freeman. Feldman. Fultz. Feldman. Gibbons. Dooley. Hebert. Dooley. Harmon. Hassan. Dooley. Heidelberg. Feldman. Hyatt. Feldman. Holton. Feldman. J.S. Seelan. Feldman. King. Dooley. Kirk Ballard. Feldman. Knapp. Lee. Lagoria. Madden. Feldman. Mann. Feldman. Martinez. Dooley. Miles. Feldman. Mohammed. Dooley. Negulescu. Newman. Feldman. Ostrenko. Feldman. Penn.
Absent.
Peter Still. Feldman. Regis. Massey.
Feldman.
Feldman. Roland. Ringelman. Feldman. No offense. Roland. Feldman. Rosser. Feldman. Ryan. Sykes. Feldman. Singh. Feldman. Song. Feldman. Stadler. Feldman. Stewart. Tyrone. Vada. Sorry. Feldman. Feldman. Wagner. Feldman, Wahab,
Dooley.
Dooley, Waltrich, Wang, Feldman, Rollins, Dooley, Wu. All right. For the at-large position, you'll have 2 votes. The candidates are Jin-Woo Choi, Carrie Dooley, James Madden, and Param Singh. I believe Professor Dooley said that they will not have another statement. Do the rest of the candidates want to make a statement? At least one. Shall we go ahead? Professor Choi.
Okay, I'll make it short. My name is Jin-Woo Choi. I'm a professor of electrical and computer engineering of College of Engineering.
Speaking to the mic.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm sorry. I start again. I'm professor of electrical and computer engineering of College of Engineering. And I have been at LSU for 19 years. Yes, 19 years. And I'm an active researcher and inspiring educator. And I've been serving, this is my first term as a Senate senator. And then I've learned a lot of issues at LSU. So if I'm elected, I'm going to speak for faculty interests and rights, especially that race issues and also academic freedom and all those faculty benefits and students. That's my interest. So I appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Professor Dooley? Good. All right. Professor Madden?
I'm James Madden. I'm the Patricia Hewlett-Bowden Distinguished Professor of Mathematics and the Director of Special Programs in the College of Science. I came to LSU in 1990, so I've been here for 32 years. This is my first year on the Senate. The Executive Committee assists the President in the execution of official duties, represents the Senate in dealings with university officials, prepares agendas and minutes for Senate meetings, coordinates the work of other Senate committees, and performs a number of other duties that support Senate operations as described in the Senate Constitution. If elected to the Executive Committee, my priority will be to see that leadership functions in the most transparent and effective manner possible. It should be proactive in assuring that the entire Senate is informed about issues related to educational policy, university life, and the conditions under which students and faculty work. It should support the President in acting clearly, decisively, and in conformity with the Senate Constitution and all pertinent laws and regulations to assure that the university maintains conditions that support its mission. My promise, in short, is to assure that the Senate functions in a manner that shines for its awareness, foresight, intelligence, judgment, and self-regulation, and that thereby the power and authority of the Senate and of the faculty generally are increased. Thank you.
Professor Singh?
Hi everyone. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Physics. I joined 12 years ago. I'm a very active researcher with more than 100 papers, peer-reviewed journals, and I've been editor of 3 international journals in the last 12 years. So I have wide experience in managing things which are very time sensitive and making some good decisions, some strong decisions about them. I would really like your consideration in electing me. It's a very difficult time which we are all facing. We know that what is happening in neighboring states for career protection, and I think we need a very strong leadership. I joined as a faculty senator last year, and I've seen already a lot of turmoil which we have all seen in our organization here, and I would like that we elect a strong leadership. All of my colleagues who have been nominated for this position, they are all great, and please use your best judgment. Thank you.
For secretary, Dooley 13, Beltman 40. Congratulations. All right, just to clarify, everyone has one vote, and then the top 2 vote getters will win the at-large seat.
So are we going to move from office or?
You do it right away, so you can vote for 2. That's going to be complicated the other way, or you just vote just for 1. It's the first and second time. Doesn't matter for you. You're in charge. We vote good.
All right, so we're voting for 2 because I like complicated math.
Okay.
We'll say 2 names.
All right, Baldridge.
Dooley and Madden.
Dooley and Madden. Barrera. Dooley and Madden. Bethlehem.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Blanchard.
Singh and Dooley.
Singh and Dooley. Roll.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Rossini.
Singh and Dooley.
Singh and Dooley. I'm gonna slow down just a little bit. Canfield.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Carter. Chauvin.
Joe Claire as an alternate, Troy and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Chin.
Absolutely.
Atuli. Choi.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Church. Cook. Daniels Rice.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Davis. Dorlaire. You realize I pronounced that 3 different times. Dooley and Madden, and my apologies. Dooley.
Dooley and Madden.
Dooley and Madden. Duran.
Singh and Choi.
Singh and Choi. Thomas.
Madden and Choi.
Madden and Choi. Esselstyn.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Favela.
Madden and Singh.
Madden and Singh. Freeman.
Alternate, Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Fultz.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Gibbons.
Dooley and Madden.
Dooley and Madden. Hebert.
Dooley and Singh.
Dooley and Singh. Harmon. Hassan.
Choi and Madden.
Choi and Madden. Heidelberg.
Madden and Singh.
Madden and Singh. Hyatt.
Dooley and Singh.
Dooley and Singh. Holton.
Joy and Singh.
J.S. Sealand. Choi and Singh. Excuse me. J.S. Sealand.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. King.
Dooley and Madden.
Dooley and Madden. Kirk Ballard.
Choi and Dooley.
Choi and Dooley. Knapp. Lee. Lagoria. Madden.
Choi and Madden.
Choi and Madden. Mann.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Martinez.
Dooley and Singh.
Dooley and Singh. Miles. Choi and Singh. Mohammed. Troy and Dooley. Negulescu. Newman.
Joy and Singh.
Troy and Singh. Astrenko.
Joy and Singh.
Joy and Singh. Pin. Peters Hill.
Madden and Singh.
Madden and Singh. Regis.
Troy and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Ringelman.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Roland.
Joy and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Rosser.
Madden and Singh.
Madden and Singh. Ryan. Sykes.
Alternate would be, Madden and Singh.
Madden and Singh. Singh.
Singh and Choi.
Singh and Choi. Song.
Julie and Singh.
Dooley and Singh.
Yes.
Stadler.
Joy and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Stewart.
Madden and Singh.
Madden and Singh. Tyrone.
Joy and Madden.
Choi and Madden. Vada.
Dooley and Singh.
Dooley and Singh. Feldman.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Wagner.
Choi and Singh.
Choi and Singh. Wahab.
Choi and Dooley.
Choi and Dooley. Waltrip. Wang.
Dooley and Madden.
Dooley and Madden. Rollins.
Julie and Singh.
Dooley and Singh. Wu. So we'll tabulate those. Should we?
So do you want to take over the application here and I'll carry on the discussion?
Committee elections are next.
Not done with me yet. So we also need to do the elections for the subcommittees. So we'll be voting for the Budget and Planning Committee and the Faculty Education Committee. Adjudication, excuse me. Do you have the nominations?
Yeah. If you look here at the top, they vote for two, and there are two candidates, and then this one is for one. So you just have to,
Some way we can do that faster.
I would ask her.
All right, we have two nominations for the Budget and Planning Committee, and we're voting for two. The two candidates are Fabio Del Piero and Wei Ling Song. You're supposed to vote for two.
Yeah, I move that, if there's any extensions, please raise your hand, because there's only two positions, two people running three positions.
Yes, question.
So, Dr. Del Piero is here as an alternate for Dr. Josina. So you don't have to be a faculty senator to serve on the committee. Okay, thank you.
Not on subcommittees, no, thank you. Are there any other nominations from the floor? We do have to do that. Can we just say all in favor of accepting these two candidates?
Yes.
Save my voice. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank God. Are there any abstentions? Any nays? Good. No. Adjudication Committee, we have one nominee for one position. Robert Peck is nominated. Are there any nominations from the floor? Shall we affirm Professor Peck?
Yes.
Any nays? Any abstentions?
All in favor?
Just say yay for fun. Thank you.
I think you have to do that over properly.
All right. So Choi, 31, Dooley, 18, Madden, 17, Singh, 38. Choi and Singh will hold positions. So just in closing, thank you to you all for bearing with me during this. And if we could just have a round of applause for not only all of the winners, but all of the nominations as well. We certainly couldn't do it. And we wish them all the best luck in the next year of going forth and being wonderful. Thank you.
All right, and I do give my hearty congratulations and best wishes to the future Faculty Senate leadership, and I thank the nominating committee for all of their hard work, as well as all of those who did come forward to run for these very important positions. Thank you very much. All right, last on the agenda of our last meeting of this year, the Faculty Senate Constitution from 2005, along with a clean copy of Mark's copy, and a copy of the the Faculty Senate Constitution approved in October 2020 by a vote of the Faculty Senate was all sent to you. There was a request to enter the option. There were some friendly amendments suggested by Professor Rowland and some others. So are there additional suggestions or requests for change to the amended version approved by the Faculty Senate in October 2020? Yes.
You see, I'd like to change the title and drop out the words "and bylaws." Oh, sorry. I'd like to change the title by dropping the words "and bylaws," because this document here isn't bylaws, this is just the same. I think it has caused confusion over the years when we update one of those two documents on one date, but not the other one, and then we do the other one. Yet, if there's one unified document, one date, it causes confusion when it's amended. So that's one thing. Also, I like Roland's circulated corrections or proposals. I checked every one of them, but also,
All right, so there's a request to change the title, which seems rather logical. I don't think we need to vote on that, right? Okay, so what additional?
well, there'd be several things. Would you rather do it one at a time or?
Right, we have to do it one at a time.
Okay, then I'll stop.
Yes, Daniel from Political Science. I appreciate the work that's gone into this. I also think that Professor Rowland has raised some really substantive questions and concerns, and I think the appropriate venue to really go over those would be at a committee. Because I think if we try to micromanage this in this venue, it's just going to take way too long. And I'm also somewhat concerned that we don't know the status of the Board of Supervisors regulations changes, and that could affect this document, since their regulations control our operations. And so to me, it seems it would be advantageous, since we have the committee that's been proposed in Resolution 2112, to allow them to review the Constitution, including the changes that have been put forth here, and determine whatever revisions may be necessary at that time, also knowing hopefully what the status of the Board of Supervisors regulations will be by then.
So, well, I take that certainly, certainly very important considerations. I also put forth that this document has been entangled in committee since 2005. So it really is time. It's not a living document because it's coming on 20 years old. So what is the concern in moving forward? You can certainly revisit it and alter it at next year's faculty council meeting.
Yeah, it just seems a big ask to go to the faculty council twice in 2 years to present two different sets of amendments. So it just seems that if it's been existing in this format for 20 years, I think it'll exist for another 4 months. We just really want to make sure we take the time to go through it, understand the landscape in which we're operating. And I just think really this would be best handled in community.
Well, yes, very good. It has been for the last 20 years. Unfortunately, we've never been able to get it beyond that. And it was gone down through, this body went through it line by line over a period of almost 18 months. So it is approved by this body. We just are offering an opportunity to make additional amendments or changes. It has already been approved by a vote.
You may have just answered the question I had, but I also wanted to ask about, we passed a resolution earlier in this meeting that calls for the LSU faculty senate to direct the FSCC to create an ad hoc committee composed of 5 senators to review the Senate Constitution and bylaws. I assume that will still be taken up, and it would just be based upon whether or not this is approved by the faculty council. Do I understand that process correct?
Right, so it wouldn't be applied retroactively to a vote in 2020. Right, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good idea to have a committee to review the Constitution on a continuing basis.
And so the business on the floor right now is for us to simply approve this to go to the faculty council meeting?
It's already been approved. This was an opportunity for this body to give feedback. Like Professor Rowland has made some suggestions that will be shared with the faculty council in their consideration.
Understood.
Are there additional suggestions, amendments, other than the title change? Yes, Professor Rowland.
I didn't hear who it was, so sorry. Yeah, so when this thing went around a while ago in USAC, I sat down, one day and wrote up the stuff that's been sent to you. And I wrote this up less thinking that these would be suggested amendments, although there are some suggestions for amendment in there. But really thinking that these would be a starting point for discussion, because it didn't seem to me, that it should fall in one person to say, well, here's how we fix this, here's how we fix this, here's how we fix this. My concern, the way things are proceeding at this point, is that it looks like, we're headed for maybe making a couple of small changes to this thing and then pushing it to the faculty council, at which time, we will also not actually go through the rigorous deliberative process that I think needs to be had over this thing. I understand that a lot of effort has been put into this. I appreciate all of that effort, but I did this in like an hour, right? I think that some things got missed, and I think that it would really be a good idea for us to step back and give this the consideration that it deserves as the structuring document for the body. So, not personally, I would, we got an hour, 40 minutes or something like that. We can have that debate now, right, and actually have the discussion now. But I really would not like to see it just go forward with, well, okay, let's change this term or let's do this. I really think that there's some serious things to be considered, and I'd like to see us discuss them. Personally.
What would you like to make? Again, I put forth this has already been approved by this body. So,
I move that it be remanded to the committee for further consideration.
I don't see any problem with discussing what just suggestions or questions are now, because it clarifies everything. And like Mandy keeps saying, this has already been approved by faculty senate. It's already been approved. This is a different faculty senate, so you're welcome to look at it again if you want. But the whole point was to get it approved by faculty council and then go from there. In our Constitution, it says every 5 years we will review the Constitution of the faculty senate. So it's done every 5 years, no matter what.
Parliamentary inquiry. There's a motion with a second on the floor. There is a motion with a second on the floor.
Discussion?
To send it to committee.
Okay,
Discussion.
well, I guess I'm a bit perplexed here, so I need to ask somebody, so this has already been approved by this body. Can we reverse that prior decision to send it to, committee?
This version has not been approved. The version that was approved in 2020 was based on an earlier iteration, which was not the 2005 document, which has been revised in this form. So these are substantive changes which are different than what was voted on in 2020. So I would think that this is substantively a new set of revisions that are being asked to be voted on.
No, the document that was revised was the 2005.
No, because we didn't even have the 2005 version until a couple months ago.
We did, I am asking those who conducted the primary line by line, which one was, yeah, it was 2005, as I understood it.
I'm not sure, I wasn't here.
Professor McMillan?
Done them all. Okay. If you heard me. Minimal changes.
There's been minimal changes since 1997.
I just want to say I'm really disappointed that the new administration of the faculty senate is still delaying things, just like they did all since.
All right, well, I'd rather move forward on a positive note. So are there additional suggestions, wait, there's a motion, yeah, we're in discussion. Go ahead, Professor.
So, I'm a little confused here. We approved
Yes,
this constitution.
correct,
So it stands as the constitution.
approved by this body, yes.
Okay, so we also have a motion to create an ad hoc committee.
Correct.
Well, they're going to be reviewing the document that has been approved. So what's the deal with remanding it to committee when we're going to have an ad hoc committee to look at the document we've already approved? Have we approved this document?
Yes, sir.
Well, then that's the end of the discussion, really. I mean, it's an approved document, so it stands as our constitution at the moment.
Barring, until approval of the faculty council.
Well, I mean, it's going to go before the faculty council
That's the.
as an expression of the faculty senate's
Correct,
approval. So right now, it stands as the document
correct.
that's going to go to, okay, so why doesn't this ad hoc committee that we're going to form, if they want to revisit this document that we've already approved,
Yes,
rather than nitpicking this document apart, we just take it as given and let the committee look at it?
so any changes that made to the approved document have to be approved by this body before it goes to the faculty council. So if we want to amend it now, we can amend it,
I'm sorry.
but it has to be approved by this body. Any changes to the document formally approved by this body has to be approved before going to the faculty council. Yes?
So to be clear, the question in front of us right now is whether we want to accept the changes that Jeffrey Rowland has presented, which he has said should go to committee to be further discussed.
Yes, in a way. Some of them were suggestions, some of them were talking points, which I think will be very, very good going forward. At present, the question is, does this body want to take up the document approved in 2020 and amend it prior to going forward to the faculty council?
Then I would suggest that we have a motion on the floor in a second.
Well, what's the purpose of this committee?
The people on Zoom here.
Can the people on Zoom hear?
Yeah, yes. As long as you speak into the microphone, they can hear.
With respect to the divergent views as to whether or not this document was approved or was not approved, and I can respect both views because quite frankly now I will admit to a level of confusion. And thus, as this is so very important, anything in this university that I have dealt with where I have found that there has been differences, discussion, dissension, which is the nature of being a faculty member, it's not. But when it is something that will affect us and our constituents, it is worth the time to take a look, a second look if need be, a third look if need be. until we believe we have it right. So I think what we're voting on today is whether one believes it is already approved, or whether it's some express that is not approved. What I'm looking at is, are we voting on something that in the long term, not just the short term, we will have to reconsider in a significant manner? If the answer to that is yes, then I'm very concerned that this moves forward as a vote in the affirmative today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Professor Daniels. We're actually not voting on the document. The document was approved in 2020 by this body. There was a request to offer an opportunity for this body to amend that document prior to the faculty council meeting coming up in May. So it has already been approved by this body. By a vote.
You were first.
Yeah, okay. I want to be clear, so are we as a body authorized to amend this constitution, even though it's already been approved, but in the process, it still hasn't been ratified by the faculty council, correct? So is it technically an in-force document that we can amend, or are we going to reverse the actions of a previous Senate body by amending it? I'm just a little confused by this. No, I'm very confused by this.
Okay.
Very.
All right. The Constitution, the Valentine Constitution, was viewed by this body line by line and amended, and the amendments approved in 2020. October 2020, this body voted to accept all changes to the fact that they went through to the Faculty Senate Constitution. It is, for purposes of this body, the Constitution we have approved. Due to the pandemic and other unforeseen circumstances, it was never ratified by the Faculty Council, nor has it been ratified by the Faculty Council since 2005, because it requires an in-person meeting with a quorum. So what we have been waiting on for 2 years is approval of the Constitution by the Faculty Council that was already approved by this body. So it was approved by a vote. A request was made for an opportunity to amend that approved version in this body, this Faculty Senate. And so that is possible. We have to vote to approve this body, this Faculty Senate now, can vote to approve amendments to the 2020 Constitution that we already approved. Does that make sense? So it has been a period of 2 years. Coming on 2 years.
So just a quick follow-up to that. So when would we do this vote to amend, to accept those amendments if they get made today?
Today. It has to be today, yeah. This is our last meeting. Additional questions?
All right, okay. So I must have been, this must have happened at a meeting that I missed because I was teaching. Did we actually have a move on the floor or a motion on the floor and a vote to amend the document?
No, we're asking if someone wants to have.
I beg your pardon, but why are we doing this? I'm so lost. I don't understand why we're revisiting a document that we've already approved, that we, this group, has already approved.
I don't disagree with you. There was a request to.
And I don't mean to disrespect toward the person who made amendments or who thinks this is necessary. I just don't understand what we're doing procedurally.
I agree. I think it's perfectly reasonable, but we have to vote on any amendments if we want to make them.
Hi, Hannah Lovatis from CMDA. I think I moved to just end discussion about it. So I don't think anybody understands what's going on. I wasn't on the body when it was passed to begin with, so it seems like the committee will just cover this later, so.
Yes, I'd like to get, thank you. I'd like to get into the habit of having a review. So I think having a committee to review the document on a regular basis is very good. and may keep us on our toes. I'd also like to get in the habit of having regular faculty council meetings unless the board of supervisors, of course, changes their regulations, but we should be coming together as a faculty council once a year to vote on or evaluate or otherwise rescind any actions of the Senate. That is part of the agreement when we were delegated authority. As a faculty Senate.
Can you identify yourselves again, please?
Hi, this is Hannah Bobas again from CMDA. So, just moving to end discussion.
Right, you. Okay. All those in favor of ending the discussion? I don't.
What is the motion on the floor? Just send us, so we'll make the motion, send it to you.
But I couldn't send it.
Point of management.
It's already done.
If you send it to committee, does it make these moves, and it just sends it through as it would?
I don't, you can send the document to committee. I think that is the plan in the future. I don't think you can undo the approval of the Senate.
So by not sending, so if we send it to committee right now, it's, these changes are moved, and it just, what's been already voted on goes to the
It goes
council.
back to 2005.
No, what's already been approved.
Wait a minute. We're not trying to send back the Constitution. We're only trying to send the amendments that are being considered. The Constitution of 2020 stands.
Yes,
The amendments have not been discussed.
correct.
So that's what is being asked to be tabled. That's what the motion was. That was the table discussion on the amendment.
No,
There is no amendment. Right.
There's no amendments under consideration at this time.
In effect, tabling it till the committee is formed. Because the committee has been created by the previously approved motion.
Okay, I
Can we put the language back on the,
Can I ask something?
yes.
Um,
Hold on, Tom.
One thing, I guess I really don't remember the Robert's rules concerning revisiting an action that has previously been done, and that there's some subtleties, somebody can fill me in on that. But if we accept the premise that it is okay to amend some action done in 2020 today, then it seems like we must also accept the similar premise that it's okay to refer that action to a committee. What's the difference between sending a 2020 act to a committee now versus amending it now? Either way, if one is bad, then the other is bad too. Yet we're doing the amendments, so why can't we refer to?
Well, I don't think any are bad. The problem is that this is what has happened since 2005. So we've been unable to update our constitution since 2005. So it's been sent back to committee multiple times, the faculty council hasn't met, etc. This body has approved a constitution. There was a request, again, I'm just repeating myself, to consider amendments to the Constitution already approved. And so we brought it forward.
I'm just saying, so
Can we have a repeat of the motion on the floor? Somebody, sorry, I just want to know what's going on.
It seems like if there is a document already approved. So why is all this discussion? I'm thinking that, just go ahead and send it on, and then the new administration comes in, they come to cabinet, and I think that's what the, motion is, they want to change it and look at the amendment, or otherwise, they can consider that.
Yes.
But I think, it's very dangerous to undo what's approved, because then, as I said earlier, we can do anything and then come back and undo it. So once it's approved, move on, and then if you wanna have another conversation on another topic, or another item, go for it. But don't undo what's been done. That's a different business.
But I'm just supporting Jeff Rowland's motion. I think I didn't say so, but I'm trying to support it.
Jeff
Yeah,
wants
but
to
they're
clarify.
different business.
I want, Jeff wants to clarify.
Please identify yourselves before you speak. Thank you.
Ines Amaziah, College of Music and Dramatic Arts. So what I'm hearing, completely share your confusion, by the way, and I hear all of you, and I think that it's just unfortunate that we're discussing it right now on the last meeting. If this was sitting for 2 years, I don't see why this wasn't brought up in September or just moved on to the council. I don't think it's ethical to make amendments and then just put people on the spot at the council meeting. I mean, we brought council together last summer, there was a very specific reason for it. And we didn't waste anybody's time, and we don't wanna waste their time this time around as well. We're gonna call them again every year, just say, we're gonna change this again on the Constitution and that. I don't think it's a good use of our time, and I think either the Constitution has to just go as it was approved in 2020 to the council without any amendments. Perhaps a question can be raised at that meeting, or nothing goes to, because the Constitution is, the revisions mean nothing until they're ratified by the council. So we can wait and revisit this in the fall and really think about what we're doing, or just go with 2020 and then let people vote against or for it. So I completely share your confusion, and whatever this body decides, I think we should go with it.
The Constitution, again, has already been approved. The Faculty Senate Executive Committee discussed this, and a motion was brought forward and a request to bring it to this body to consider Professor Long's or other amendments. This was at the request of the faculty, it was discussed at the Executive Committee and voted on. So, it has been approved. I'm perfectly fine with sending it forward as it is with the change to the title, which makes sense. And then having a committee review this and carry on from here on. I think that's perfectly legitimate.
All right, definitely.
Oh,
So Jeffrey Rowland. I worry that this notion of approval in this body is being misunderstood, because we don't actually have the authority in this body to approve the document as a whole. What we have is the authority to approve specific amendments to the document, and then the amended document gets sent to the faculty council for ratification. So I worry that some of the comments about approval in this body are using a notion of approval which is a bit stronger than the one that we actually have on hand. This actually gets back to what Chip was saying. The idea that it's okay to open it up for amendments now. We're not undoing anything that we did previously. What we're saying is we're looking at this document now and thinking, okay, maybe it could be improved in these ways. And so, we have some amendments that we might make to it, and then we could vote on those amendments, right? And then we send the whole thing forward to the faculty council. My worry is that, well, that's it. I think that.
Who's first? Who's first?
If we're going strictly by Robert's rules, I see that to amend something already adopted without previous notice requires a 2/3 vote of the Senate. I saw a document that had suggestions and using it, but I didn't see formal amendments. So this was not given with previous notice. Take 2/3 vote of the Senate
to change.
To change.
Make any amendments.
to
Correct.
change the amendments at this meeting.
That's correct.
Thank you. I would just see that Daniel's raised in College of Engineering. If the person who made the motion that is on the floor, please repeat it. I would just like to know exactly what I'm voting on when we call for a vote. Thank you.
So I'm actually one of two motions on the floor at this point. So the initial motion was to remand the document, right? The marked up 2005 Constitution, marked up with the amendments that were approved in 2020, not the document being approved, to committee for further discussion. I would offer my own, musings as the basis to begin that discussion, but obviously they can do whatever they want. There are issues with this document. That's what I wrote up here, right? Raising questions and pointing out, near inconsistencies and things like that. But the motion I made was to remand this document to committee for further discussion before advancing it to the faculty. Then, of course, there was a call to question motion, which is already on the floor, or also on the floor.
So I think, however, we have since confirmed according to Robert's rules, that it takes 2/3 votes to amend something, a document, preferably approved by this faculty senate.
Doesn't the motion supersede that?
I don't know, but honestly, in my readings today, it did not. You can't reverse a change, you can't reverse a decision by an earlier faculty.
There's no amendments on the floor.
Correct, there are no amendments on the floor. As Paul said, it to committee has already been decided in the resolution that was passed today. In future years. This has already been approved in October 2020 after going through the Constitution line by line with this body. Again, this was a request of the executive committee to offer the opportunity to amend it before it goes forward to the faculty council.
So, Jeffrey, not to split hairs or anything about this approval, but this faculty senate, that document cannot go to the faculty council without the approval of the faculty senate to begin with, right?
It hasn't. It has been.
Approval of the amendment.
Had it not been approved, then it couldn't be presented to the faculty council.
Correct.
It was approved
It was.
to go to the faculty. So we did in fact approve it to move forward to the faculty council.
Yes.
That's a fait accompli.
So why are we even discussing this?
I'm not, okay, why are we discussing this? Because there was a request by the faculty senate executive committee to add this to the agenda, to have the opportunity to amend the Constitution by a 2/3 vote that approved in 2020 by a 2/3 vote of this body.
Okay, but now so there was you want to approve amendments that Dr. Rowland suggested now.
He didn't make anything.
He's suggesting,
I'm
I'll
ready.
just out there. Right now, Dr. Rollins is asking for a vote to formally send his amendments to a committee. Which would leave his changes.
I think you want, I
He wants to
think that's what's being articulated.
Would that also bring the 2020 vote along with it? Or would need the 2020 vote?
You can't change.
The 2020 vote stands. You can't.
So your motion was to move to send these to the committee? Or to send them to
This document, the markup, right?
We should effectively just table this debate, and go to the committee, which would be moved because it's a committee to start in the fall anyway. So I would move to close this until this committee, and you can put it on the 3rd so we can go home. This is 5:15.
Needs to go to the faculty.
The current constitution approved in 2020 has to go forward to the faculty council for ratification before it can go reverse.
But we've taken he's not asking for his changes to be voted on anymore.
All right.
So I'm honestly trying to understand, if you don't want your, I don't know, I'm not breaking, but if you don't want your changes.
I don't want to have this back and forth with you without the microphone.
Oh, Matt, okay, that's, well, you're like.
He's been waiting.
Sorry, my fault.
Roy Heidelberg, College of Business. So the motion on the floor would in effect withhold this document from consideration by the faculty council in order for it to be further reviewed by the Senate, notwithstanding the fact that it has already been approved by the Senate in October of 2020. It seems to me that that would be a violation of some kind of procedure. Granted, I'm very confused by procedure in this body, but it does seem to me that that would be a violation of at least the spirit under which the Senate operates, which is power delegated to it by the faculty council. We have a constitution that's been approved by the Senate that the faculty council deserves to now consider. Right?
Yes.
So, call to question as Professor Milibovich said, right?
Second?
Third.
15.
Okay, there remains the question. The question is, what is the question? I do not think we can reverse
The
a
question is
decision
the
of a
motion
2020.
and the second about the committee.
All right.
May, question, call for information, and I wish to maintain respect and cordiality for your effort and your purpose. But if I might understand this, we have today approved a committee that will start meeting in the fall to do the Constitution. Can we agree on that? Yes, okay. And we have approved, the 2020 body approves the Constitution, which will be sent to the committee if we don't approve the changes today. And you're requesting that we table that we would send your proposed changes not to the faculty council, but to this committee. Okay, so I apologize.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, the summary that was just presented. Professor Heidelberg was correct.
Point of order, call the question, don't we vote now?
The question, I don't think you can reverse a decision of an earlier, it would be like reversing a resolution that's already been passed.
You can with this two-thirds.
You can reverse, I don't believe, you can reverse a prior resolution, you can.
Motion to rescind requires a two-thirds vote. Motion to rescind.
A motion to rescind.
Why are we, please do the record, why did you call for the primary speakers so that those? I didn't need to later the
The Robert's rule says you have a motion to rescind, which requires a two-thirds vote. I haven't heard a motion to rescind, but if somebody wants to stop this Constitution from going forward, they need to make either a motion to rescind or they need to make a motion to amend. Or further, both of which require a two-thirds vote.
Or refer.
No, you have to say, motion to amend without prior notice, which requires a two-thirds vote, or a motion to rescind, which also requires a two-thirds vote.
All right, all right, friends, this is, I think it's gonna take as long as it took us to revise the Constitution in the first place, which took almost a year. So, is there a motion?
Well, do we even have a quorum left?
We
don't need one. We're not really doing it, we're just asking for input on the faculty senate.
It was really just a request for friendly amendments to the 2020, approved 2020.
Just a discussion.
It was really just a discussion. But, as Professor Dooley has said, there seem to be a lot of motions circulating, and we need to make a decision. Do we want to move it forward as already approved by the 2020 Senate, or there are other options that he's already stated?
All we're trying to do is follow the Constitution of the faculty senate, which says we must send any changes with the Constitution that were already approved by the faculty senate to the faculty council for approval. That's all we want to accomplish.
All right. There's hands.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. Rosemary Petersdale, call it Humanities and Social Sciences. Okay. So, okay, again, respect, cordiality. It's so late in the day that I don't even know what the syllables mean anymore, but we have already approved a document.
Yes.
Yes, correct? Okay. Are we voting to redo the document, to re-edit the document? That would be rescinding it, if I understood that correctly, right? So, because that would mean starting over with these edits. Now, instead of just saying, yes, let's send it to the committee next fall, we have spent 40 minutes talking about whether or not we're going to talk about a document. I called the question, let's stop talking about a document that is already talked about and approved.
Okay.
I called the question. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, so I
Yes.
have a different topic.
Okay.
I promise it has nothing to do with the Constitution. I've been waiting to bring it up if we're done with any moves for the agenda.
Wait, don't we have to vote on just?
There were only two options, to rescind or amend the standing constitution.
The question's been called and there needs to be a second. Was there a second?
Yeah, there was a second.
What is the motion?
To call the question.
There is no question. You have to have a question.
She made a motion to call.
Okay,
Somebody seconded it.
I moved to end the discussion.
Yeah, that's what we did
Today,
before.
on this.
I second that. Thank you.
There is a motion to
So
end the
moved.
discussion. Is there a second?
I seconded it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The discussion is concluded.
So does it go forward now?
The faculty council.
Last question. He's been waiting patiently.
One last thing.
I apologize to the Senate for being so slow on the uptake. Do we have an open position on budget and planning now?
Yes.
Okay, so my misunderstanding, am I able to like self-nominate myself now for that? Because I'll volunteer to do that, to take that last position.
Yeah.
Now, if we can't do that, then that's fine. I don't want us to stay here any longer, but I'm volunteering whatever process that needs to fill that last position. I'm more than happy to do it.
It has to be voted on. But please nominate yourself. Yeah. Or is there a motion to forego Robert's rules and accept the self-nomination and vote on it?
Okay, I move to forego.
I move to suspend the rule.
Suspend the rules.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, sir, please state your name for the record.
I am James Gafield from HSE, and I move to take the last open vacancy on budget.
All in favor of our very brave and coming candidate? Aye. Awesome, you are elected. Motion to adjourn.
The vote on calling the question on the motion changed. We voted on not calling the question, we voted on the question. So if we're going to change.
Yeah.
Because what we
Thank
voted on
you.
was
Thanks
not
for your
the question.
participation.
All right, very good. Professor Stephen Daniels raised, voted against ending the discussion.
We finished.
We are finished. We are adjourned.
Great job.